Get your life going this year with a gentler, softer, more tender approach to living. What if we could start out this new year, this blank chapter, this new space with less? Less is more. That is what we're going to talk about today in this brand new year, with the calendar having turned and the holidays starting to quiet down, where many of us are standing in that soft in between space where reflection meets possibility. This first episode of a new year, just like the first of any kind, always feels different. There's a collective inhale happening right now. Can you feel it? Take that deep breath and give yourself a new reflection, answering that quiet question: how do I want to live now? Not louder, not faster, not more impressive, just truer, truer to you. Today's episode is called Less is More, and it felt important to begin the year here, not with pressure or productivity or promises to become someone else, but with permission. Less clutter, less noise, less story, and how choosing less creates space, real space, for clarity, creativity, peace, courage, and presence. Some people hear the word less and immediately think sacrifice or limitation, loss. But less is not about shrinking your life. Less is about removing what crowds it. Less is not deprivation. Less is intention. That song we talked about last week, Make Me a Channel of Your Peace, which comes from a biblical verse, it's about less ego, less reaction, less need for self-protection, more calm, more clarity, more blessing. Remember that word, blessing. And this year, more than ever, a radical idea is resurfacing, one that runs counter to hustle culture and perfectionism. The idea that happiness doesn't come from being bigger, louder, or grander, but from being smaller in the right ways. To bless, to be less, bless. Bless you, more life. Just the right mix for 2026. A recent article in The Atlantic explored this beautifully, arguing that happiness comes not from accumulation or confidence inflated into grandiosity, but from humility, proportion, and letting go of what is necessary. From choosing less so that life itself can expand. More space, more breathing room for you and your spirit to be. So today we'll explore how less shows up in your mind, your relationships, your work, your fears, your creativity, and your courage. And how choosing less doesn't shrink your life, it returns it to you. So take a breath, let your shoulders drop, and let's begin. I'm Susan Hendrick, and this is Human Being with Dr. Susan, right here on Sandcastle Radio, America's hottest online variety and music station. And today we are talking about the science of less.
Yeah, yeah. Human being, forward go on your path inside, Human being, face the sun, take your chances, blow and run. Human being, who you are, meant to be, you're going far. Choose your journey, find your flow, light from inside. Now you know.
Light from inside. And now you know. I just love that concept. The light is coming from within, and less allows us to do more, believe it or not. So that's what we're going to focus on today. Let's start with the brain, the science of less, and why your brain is begging for space. Cognitive load theory tells us something both simple and profound. Your working memory can only hold so much at once. When it's overloaded with information, stimulation, emotion, or story, the system strains. Learning slows, decisions feel heavier, stress rises. Think about your email inbox, the open tabs in your browser, the constant ping of notifications. Each one asks for a slice of your attention, and attention is a finite resource. But here's the part we don't talk about enough. Emotional clutter taxes the brain just as much as informational clutter. Emotional clutter. Can you relate to what that means for you? Every imagined slight from another person, every replayed conversation, every what if that never resolves, they all take up space. Less clutter equals more clarity. Less noise equals more focus. Less emotional baggage equals more freedom to act. Think of a museum. The most powerful gallery experiences are not crowded wall to wall, jammed with artifacts. Those museum spaces use space deliberately. The space isn't empty, it's functional. It tells your nervous system where to look. Less isn't absence, less is emphasis. And when you remove what doesn't matter, what does matter finally has room to speak. Now, on the neuroscience of simplicity, research shows that our brains are wired to seek patterns and meaning. But too much input creates cognitive overload. When we're bombarded with choices, notifications, or emotional noise, oh, can you say that feeling? The prefrontal cortex gets overloaded. The part of that brain responsible for decision making and focus becomes less effective. This is why, after a day of multitasking, we feel exhausted, not accomplished. A study in 2011 at Princeton University found that physical clutter in our environment reduces our ability to focus and process information. The same is true for emotional and mental clutter. When we clear space, physically and mentally, we reclaim bandwidth for creativity, problem solving, and joy. Did you just look around your space and say, oh, I got to get rid of this clutter? Just pick up one thing. Just toss one item that's no longer serving you, or give something away that isn't bringing the same joy that it had when you first got it. Clearing that mental space, reclaiming bandwidth for creativity. There's a cost to more. I'm a child, my early adulthood was in the 80s. I don't know that there was a decade more dedicated to excess than the 80s. That's when Gordon Gekko came out. Do you remember the movie Wall Street where he said, greed is good? Oh, I just get nauseated when I think about that concept. There's a cost to more. Modern life often equates more with better. More meetings, more goals, more connections, more content. But the science is clear. More is not always better. In fact, it's often the enemy of depth, presence, and meaning. When we choose less, fewer commitments, fewer distractions, fewer stories about what might go wrong, we create the conditions for our best thinking and our deepest living. Do you subscribe to a cable or an internet television service? And do you ever wonder why now, with 1,500 channels or more, we are still saying there's nothing on TV? Those same words we were saying back in the 70s when we would physically turn that dial to 3, 6, or 10. Or if we really wanted to get into the special stuff, we'd go to the higher number that one channel up there. More is not more. My mom loves to watch shows like Leave It to Beaver, Little House on the Prairie, The Waltons. All of these shows take place in a time where there was much less. There were fewer books, fewer opportunities, fewer places to go, fewer items on the shelf at Ike's General Store with Cora. And yet somehow we lived a full life. More is not more. We get caught up in the frenzy that we've got to have that additional item. We have stores like Shein and Temu where we can get more so readily and so inexpensively that it's just as simple as a button push. And suddenly things arrive at our door. And we've created for ourselves a bit of a throwaway culture where the things we have don't mean as much. I'm guilty of this. I can't tell you how many times my ring went off over the holiday season with the latest delivery from Amazon. I got caught up in the more is more concept. But in the quiet of winter, under a half-inch blanket of ice outside, I had time to reflect with a single candle burning in my living room, sitting quietly in the dark and peacefully enjoying the quietness of outside when the frozen ice shuts down the hustle and the bustle. And I got to recenter myself in the concept of less is more. And that's why I want to bring it to you today. What does less is more mean to you? Let's talk about the empty boat mindset, letting go of the story. There's a Zen story about the empty boat. You're drifting peacefully on a lake when suddenly another boat crashes into yours. Anger flares immediately. Who wasn't paying attention? Who did this to me? You're ready for a fight. But then you look more closely, and through the fog, you can see the boat is empty. No pilot, no careless person to blame, just a collision carried by the current. The impact was real. The meaning changed. This is the empty boat mindset. So many of our daily collisions feel personal. A short email, a missed acknowledgement, a delayed response, being cut off at the intersection. And when there's silence, our minds rush to fill it. They don't see me. I don't matter. I did something wrong. They're upset. They think they own the highway. But what if that boat is empty? Most of the weight we carry isn't from what happened. It's from what we added to what happened. The story we make up. Less assumption leads to more calm. Less story leads to more clarity. Less ego leads to more freedom. This doesn't mean excusing harm or avoiding accountability. It means separating impact from interpretation. Here's a little tool to use to help you focus on less made up story. Micro affirmations, the antidote to story. A micro affirmation is the opposite of an empty boat moment. It's a small intentional signal that says, I see you. You belong. Your contribution matters. My friend Kathiri sends me a text message that says, I'm trying to listen, having some internet static, but I'm trying. I see you. I want to be here with you in this moment. That's a micro affirmation. And when micro affirmations are present, the mind has less reason to spin. When micro affirmations are missing, the story machine goes to work. Less affirmation creates more assumption. Less clarity creates more collision. Examples of practical micro affirmations: a genuine thank you for a small task, remembering a colleague's birthday, a nod in a meeting, a smile in the hallway, a quick, I appreciate your perspective. Tiny gestures. They don't just make others feel seen, they quiet our own inner stories. They create a culture of less story, more truth. I had a colleague when I was at Night Kitchen. His name was Gary Sammartino. And every time I would send him an email or a text message or a delivery of some kind, he would always write back, received, period. Thank you, period. No details, no what I'm going to do with it, just a simple acknowledgement that he received what I sent. It closed a tiny loop. We've talked about closing your loops before, but these micro affirmations are exchanges between humans that say, you matter. I see you. What micro affirmation could you share right now? If someone's in a room with you, give them a wink. Let them know you see them. Send a simple text message to someone to say, thanks for that holiday gift you shared with me. A thank you note. These are micro affirmations. Nobody writes thank you notes anymore. Guilty. Why is that? Because finding a stamp is too much of a hassle. Hey, P.S., I just got a micro affirmation from my awesome husband. He texted me a wink. Such a simple act and such big impact. Elise Myers, you might recognize her from TikTok, Instagram. She's a comedian and a storyteller, and she is neurotic, almost as neurotic as me. She's come up with a phrase that has become a rallying cry for self-acceptance and authenticity. And it came from a 1-second phrase. She says, when someone finds you too much, too emotional, too bold, too real, too loud, the problem isn't necessarily you, but it's their limitation. So Myers' empowering message, especially in that viral "if I'm too much" video, encourages us to embrace our full selves and let go of those who don't appreciate our energy. Here is what she said: if I'm too much, go find less. Ugh. It's a signature way to honor self-love and neurodiversity, echoing the episode's theme today. Less isn't about shrinking yourself, but about removing what crowds your life and making space for what matters. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. Sapir, S-A-P-I-R, Whorf, W-H-O-R-F. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis is about how language shapes our reality. The idea of the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis suggests that the language we speak shapes our ontological perspective, how we understand and engage with the world. Attorneys know this very well. When one attorney is talking about defending the person who was hit by a car, that first attorney says, "How fast were you going when you hit my client?" And the person answers the question, and the jury is unmoved. The second attorney with the same type of case, instead of saying, "How fast were you going when you hit my client?" the second attorney said, "How much over the speed limit were you going when you crashed into my client?" Same essence of the question, but completely different impact through language. Spanish language distinguishes between soy, I am permanently, and estoy, I am temporarily. Yo soy is about who I am. Yo estoy is about what's happening right now with me. In the Lakota Sioux tradition, one might say, sadness is visiting me, framing emotion as a transient state rather than a fixed identity. I am sad. Sadness is visiting me. And in South Africa, expressions like ochweri ke dishepo, I am caught by laughter, reflect a similar fluidity, transience of feelings and experience. These linguistic nuances help us see emotions and experiences as passing states, not permanent traits. Polyvagal theory that my therapist taught me about and has completely just revolutionized the practice of mental health therapy and well-being. Polyvagal theory is all about states of being and how we can change our state of being just by becoming aware of our inner experience. It's personal wisdom in the form of recognizing what is happening through you rather than what is happening to you. An Irish father told his son when his son was depressed at 18, that depression is not who you are, but a state that will pass, he said to his son. A reminder that our emotional states are not our essence. Depression is visiting you, not you are depressed, or you are depression, or you are schizophrenic, or you are obsessive compulsive, or you are ADHD. I used to work in the prison system and doing therapy with individuals who were incarcerated for many years for egregious crimes, behaviors that in society are unacceptable. I would often ask the prisoners to reframe, I am not a murderer. I committed an act of murder. Yes, you've got to take accountability, responsibility for that behavior, but that does not have to define who you are. The first arrow is what you did. The second arrow is what you do with what you did. Separating impact from interpretation. Less story, more truth. Recent science supports the idea that emotions are fleeting. A person experiences an emotion for about 90 seconds. So you might see something flying around right now on the internet about experiencing that emotion for 90 seconds, pausing, not engaging in replaying or recycling the emotion or upcycling it into a definition of self, But if you can sit with that emotion for 90 seconds, it will dissipate. I wish I had done that last week in a conversation in which I became overwhelmed. I became flooded with emotions. And so overwhelmed was I that I said, I have to get off this call. And instead of sitting with that emotion and with that person, so together we could ride through it, I ran, I froze, and I fled, which reinforces the emotion instead of helping to let it go. I could have had less rumination. I could have had more freedom, but instead I cemented that emotion, not only within me, but between us. And we had to work hard to move beyond it. Moving beyond. So here we are in 2026 in the Chinese zodiac. Do you know what year this is? This is the year of the horse, where 2025 was the year of the snake. As we step into 2026, the year of the horse, it's worth reflecting on the shift from 2025, that year of the snake, which symbolizes introspection, subtlety, and transformation, qualities that invite us to shed old skins, reflect deeply, and move quietly through change. That was the year of the snake. In contrast, this year, the year of the horse, brings energy, movement, and boldness. The horse is often associated with freedom, authenticity, and the courage to run with your true self, qualities that resonate powerfully with the go find less message. If 2025 and the year of the snake was a time for inner work, letting go of what no longer serves and embracing transformation through quiet reflection, this year, the year of the horse, 2026, is a time to move forward with intention, to live boldly and authentically, and to embrace the spaciousness that comes from choosing less. Less clutter, less self-doubt, less holding back, less negative messages. In the spirit of the horse, 2026 invites us to honor our energy, to run free with our truth, and to let go of those who cannot keep pace with our authenticity. Let them go find less. As Mel Robbins would say, let them. It's a year to practice less, not as deprivation, but as the creation of space for clarity, connection, and joy. Less is more, more is you. Clearing space for clarity, creativity, and presence is not about shrinking your life. Go find less is a call to honor your truth and let go of those who can't hold space for your fullness. And language matters. The way we speak about ourselves and our emotions shapes our experiences, whether it's I am sad or sadness is visiting me. The words we choose can empower us to see ourselves as dynamic, resilient, and whole. Letting go of harmful habits and stories of overthinking, self-criticism, perfectionism creates room for happiness, courage, and connection. Most of those hits we take are empty boats. So here's a reflection. Start today and notice your empty boats. Release what isn't yours and carry only what matters. Embrace your full self. And if anyone finds you too much, remember, they can go find less. Let language, science, wisdom, traditions, and the energy of the horse year guide you toward a life that is truer, lighter, and more free. May you be fearless, not fear-free, but let fear take up less space. We say fearless, not fear-free. Fear-free suggests that one day we'll magically eliminate fear altogether, that with enough insight or discipline, fear will disappear. That is not human being. That's fantasy. Fear shows up because you care, because something matters, because you're alive. The question isn't whether fear is present. The question is, how much headspace will we give it? Being fearless doesn't mean you don't feel fear. It means fear doesn't get the microphone. It doesn't narrate your worth. It doesn't dominate the room. When we practice less story, less ego, less imagined threat, fear still exists, but it takes up less room, less volume, less airtime, less control. Fear grows in clutter crevices. It thrives in overthinking and over-identifying. Less mental noise doesn't remove fear, it shrinks it. Anxiety, too, it isn't a flaw. It's part of being alive. It's the body's response to freedom, to choice, to possibility. The problem isn't anxiety itself. The problem is what we do with it. When we suppress it, it grows louder. When we name it, it loosens. When we reframe anxiety as energy, as adrenaline, it becomes usable. Fear doesn't need to be eliminated, it needs to be outnumbered. Less space for fear creates more room for courage, clarity, and calm. Claim that space. So here's a playful twist on words. If you want to bless the world, be less first. Less ego, less story, less reaction, more love, more presence, and more peace. Less is not less. It's the secret to blessing. There's a new definition of trust making rounds in the world of leadership development. It's an equation. And the equation reads credibility plus reliability plus intimacy, meaning authenticity, all divided by self-orientation equals trust. Credibility, reliability, intimacy, or authenticity, all divided by self-orientation. To bless others, be less focused on your ego and create more room for the magic of human being to enter in. This is where I want to pause and bring in a voice that feels especially important at the start of a new year when we're thinking about less perfectionism and more life. It's Anne Lamott. Listen to what she says. Oh my God, what if you wake up someday and you're 65 or 75 and you never got your memoir or novel written? Or you didn't go swimming in warm pools and oceans all those years because you had your thighs or your tummy or your tiny budget, or you just didn't have the courage to do it? What if you spent your whole life waiting for permission to do the thing you love? Perfection is the enemy of less. It's the voice that says, not yet, not good enough, not ready. It's the story that crowds out our action, our joy, and our risk. Less perfectionism means more life, more messy attempts, more connection, more courage to try, fail, and try again. The cost of perfectionism? It delays action. It amplifies self-criticism. It shrinks our willingness to be seen. When we choose less perfectionism, less self-judgment, less waiting, we choose more life. Perfectionism is a way of missing out on life. Let's take a historical and scientific perspective on the wisdom of less. History gives us many examples of less in practice. Marcus Aurelius, my husband's favorite, the Stoic emperor, wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Less story, more control. Einstein, working in a mundane patent office, didn't let the bureaucracy or imagined criticism weigh him down. Less mental clutter allowed him to imagine the universe differently. Science also confirms that cluttered environments, overloaded brains, and excessive narrative reduce learning, memory, and problem solving. Less is smarter, faster, more creative. Clutter literally shrinks your brain. So there's a power of simplicity in innovation. In fact, some of the world's greatest breakthroughs came from simplifying the problem. Einstein's theory of relativity, Steve Jobs' obsession with minimalist design, Marie Kondo's life-changing magic of tidying up. All are rooted in the principle that less is not emptiness, but focus. Minimalism, the art of living with less. My Aunt Judy often speaks of minimalism and practices it in her art, in her poetry, in her photography. Minimalism is more than just a design trend or a way to declutter your closet. It's a philosophy of intentional living. At its heart, minimalism asks, what truly matters? What can I let go of to make space for clarity, creativity, and connection? I think it was Chanel who said, right before you leave the house, take off one thing, one less accessory, one less stroke of the paintbrush, one less tchotchke on the mantle. Minimalism in practice, it invites us to remove the excess, whether physical, mental, emotional. It's about choosing quality over quantity, depth over distraction, and meaning over more. Whether it's clearing your desk, simplifying your schedule, or letting go of old stories, grudges, minimalism creates room for what matters most. Just as a museum uses empty space to highlight its most precious works, minimalism uses space to emphasize what is important. Less isn't emptiness, it's emphasis. And when we remove what doesn't matter, what does matter finally has room to speak. Minimalism isn't about deprivation, it's about reclaiming bandwidth for joy, creativity, and peace. Choosing takes less. If you have to focus on that one thing that matters, your choosing less will take courage. It means saying no to what doesn't serve you, letting go of perfectionism and making space for authenticity. I love this woman on TikTok and Instagram. I need to get you her name. She speaks to the camera. She's holding her phone up in the air, and she says, "You do not need more Target. You do not need more Kohl's. You do not need more makeup. You're distracting yourself. You do not need." So all of her videos start with, "You do not need more channels on your cable television. You do not need the latest pair of Ugg boots. Choosing less takes courage. Fewer, less, smaller. That makes more space for your authenticity. And in the spirit of the horse year, minimalism is about running free with your truth, unburdened by what you no longer need. And now, minimalism in communication, fewer words, more clarity. I read something in a powerful communication textbook last night that said, if you want to have more of an impact, walk into rooms in silence. Listen more. Minimalism isn't about having less, it's about making room for more of what matters. And in a world that celebrates more, minimalism is a radical act of self-care and intentionality. It's the art of living with less so you can experience more clarity, more connection, more life. In retail, the less is more philosophy isn't just a design trend, it's a proven business strategy. In fact, in recent years, major brands and stores are intentionally reducing the number of products they offer, focusing on bestsellers and curated selections. This shift is driven by both consumer psychology and operational efficiency. You see, curated choices reduce overwhelm for the shopper. Studies show that shoppers are less likely to make a purchase when faced with too many options. My dad once said, you know a good restaurant when they have fewer items on the menu. By narrowing inventory, stores help customers focus and reduce decision fatigue. They make buying easier, according to Axios. But that also takes more confidence in what you do put out there. Quality over quantity. Retailers like Kohl's and Target and even Coca-Cola have trimmed their product lines, sometimes by hundreds of items. And the result? Higher sales of featured products, improved inventory turnover, and increased profits. For example, Kohl's reduced its clothing styles and colors, leading to more focused displays and better sales performance, according to Yahoo. And all of this leads to an enhanced customer experience. Minimalist store layouts create a calm, inviting atmosphere. And customers report feeling less stressed and more satisfied, which encourages repeat visits and brand loyalty. What do you need to do with your metaphorical store to create less overwhelm for yourself and others? At Walmart, by using AI to optimize inventory and reduce excess stock, Walmart cut stockouts by 30% and excess inventory by up to 25%, resulting in higher sales and happier customers. More stuff getting to the people that actually want it. The power of curation. If you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one. John Rodell, the poet, said, when I'm caught between a rock and a hard place, let me be water. Let me be water. Less is more. Occam's razor. Do you remember learning about Occam's razor in your philosophy class? Occam's razor is the philosophical principle that suggests that the simplest explanation or solution is often the most accurate. Occam's razor encourages problem solving by favoring explanations with the fewest assumptions and is often applied in various fields like philosophy, science, crime fighting, and design. In design, Occam's razor promotes minimalism and efficiency, guiding designers to eliminate unnecessarily complex elements and focus on the essentials. If you look behind me right now, if you're sitting in my office, I have too much stuff on my shelf. And I'm making a commitment right now that by the time you see me again, I will have curated a more intentional view behind me so that you can truly know who I am. And more importantly, I can know truly who I am. The principle of Occam's razor is sometimes paraphrased as of two competing theories, the simpler explanation is preferred, emphasizing the importance of parsimony in reasoning and problem solving. That came from William of Ockham, who died in 1347. His exact words were, entities are not to be multiplied without necessity. Non sunt multiplicanda entia sine necessitate. Sorry, my Italian speaking friends, I know that accent was terrible. Minimalism, the art and philosophy of less. It's a profound movement that has shaped visual arts, music, architecture, literature, and even daily life. It emerged in the post-World War II era, where minimalism was a reaction to the complexity of abstract expressionism and modernism. You saw artists like Donald Judd, Agnes Martin, Dan Flavin, Carl Andre, Robert Morris, Annie Truitt, who stripped down art to its essentials, focusing on the object itself and the viewer's experience with as little mediation as possible. The goal, letting the art speak for itself without distraction. But minimalism isn't new. It appears in religious traditions like Buddhism, early Islam, and the teaching of Muhammad and Caliph Umar, who advocated for living simply even as rulers. Volodymyr Zelensky, look at his wardrobe. Less. Less is more so he can focus on the business of saving Ukraine. In music, minimalism is found in the repetitive, gradually evolving works of Lamonte Young, Terry Riley, Steve Reich, Philip Glass, who my Aunt Judy introduced me to, Julius Eastman, and John Adams. The concept extends to literature, film, fashion, and even science communication, where clarity and simplicity help ideas to resonate. My dad, in his science over the years, was always looking for the simplest ion exchange, the least complex activity to produce the best substance. In architecture and design, minimalism means reducing a space to its necessary elements, using light, form, and material to create calm, functional environments. Like Japanese Zen philosophy and aesthetics such as M-A, ma, the space between things, and wabi-sabi, the beauty of simplicity and imperfection. These have deeply influenced minimalist design worldwide. Economy of words, using only what is essential and reducing waste, focusing on what truly matters. Minimalism teaches us that less isn't emptiness, it's emphasis. Removing what doesn't matter so what does matter has room to speak. In communication, this is cool. My maiden name is Herzenberg, and I learned recently that one of my blood relatives, Leonard Herzenberg, worked with Noam Chomsky, the great linguist, and had a laboratory of language. I think it was at Stanford. And he talked about fewer words, more clarity, fewer assumptions, more understanding, less distraction, more connection. Students learn more when there is less presented. They remember and retain more. Just like a song is more powerful when it has a quiet pause between notes, communication is more powerful when there's less filler, less assumption, less clutter. Here's an irony. When I was a kid, guess what my nickname was from my dad? The Boo Boo. And guess what the Boo Boo did? The Boo Boo babbled. I talk too much. I still do. But I'm working on minimalism. Before sending an email asking, what's the essential message? In meetings, giving the gift of silence and listening, letting ideas breathe. Focusing on understanding, not responding. So here's a practical exercise for less, for your mind and your life. It's the empty boat exercise. Close your eyes for a moment. Recall a collision, big or small, that upset you recently. Ask, was this collision personal, or could the boat be empty? Imagine the boat empty. Let the anger or frustration soften and dissolve. Notice your mind and body lighten. Do a cognitive load check. List everything demanding your attention right now and highlight what is essential. Release the non-essential, because less mental clutter equals more energy for what matters. And lastly, communication practice. Before responding to that next email, message, conversation, pause, snarky comment, ask, do I need to respond to this story? Or can I respond to the fact? Less interpretation, more clarity. Here's 5 habits to quit. These 5 habits are stealing your happiness. Integrating less into your life means letting go of these habits that clutter your mind and drain your soul. Number 1, trying to please everyone. You'll never make everyone happy. True freedom begins when you honor your truth instead of chasing approval. I've put this into practice in this last year, and it's cost me. Speaking up for myself and stopping being a people pleaser has ruffled some feathers, and I have to be okay with that. It may feel like abandoning them, but in fact, it's ceasing the abandonment of self. Stop trying to please everyone, number 1. Number 2, fearing change. The unknown can feel scary, but resisting life's flow limits growth. Less fear, more possibility. That disease that you're dealing with, it's going to cause change. Instead of fearing that change, embrace it and milk the most you possibly can out of what strength you have left. Let go of fearing change, number 2. Number 3, living in the past. Clinging to old pain or identities holds your spirit hostage. It keeps your horse locked in the barn. Release the past in order to move forward. Living in the past, number 3. Number 4, putting yourself down. Every word you utter, both inside your head and from your mouth, matters. Self-criticism drains your soul. Choose self-compassion over tearing yourself apart. Putting yourself down, number 4. And number 5, let go of overthinking. Endless rumination doesn't bring clarity. Less thought clutter, more action, more faith. Each of those 5 habits adds invisible weight. Letting them go is less inaction, creating space for presence, clarity, and joy. What do you need to let go of? Think of less as a lens for your life. Less clutter in your environment leads to more focus. Less story in your mind leads to more peace. Less reaction to imagined collisions leads to more freedom. Less harmful habits leads to more happiness and fulfillment. And every moment you practice less, you reclaim energy, attention, and presence. You stop reacting automatically to that boat empty boat that bangs into you, and you start responding consciously. In the world that celebrates more followers, more productivity, more hustle, choosing less can feel radical. But cultures around the world have long understood the power of simplicity. Scandinavian lagom, Lagom, means just the right amount. The Quakers speak of simplicity as a spiritual discipline. Less is not a trend, it's a wisdom tradition. For leaders, less is a superpower. Less micromanaging, more trust. Less talking, more listening. Less control, more empowerment. And when leaders model less, teams feel safer, more creative, more engaged. The best leaders know that their job is not to fill every silence, but to create space for others to shine. The pause in a song, the blank page, the white space in a painting. When we remove clutter, physical, mental, or emotional, we invite inspiration. Less is not the enemy of creativity, it's the birthplace of it. Choosing less is an act of courage, courage to say no, to let go, to be seen as you are, not as you think you should be. There's a surprising relief when everything is lost and you have to start over. You've heard me tell stories of the great fire that my parents and I experienced on my first birthday, of the great flood that my husband and I experienced in Kansas. After each of these tragedies, a new garden grew. The opportunity for renewal at this beginning of the year. So take this with you. If you're standing in the ashes of something precious, know this is not the end of you. There is still love to give, joy to feel, and a life waiting to bloom around you. Sometimes losing everything is the beginning of finding yourself again. So in closing, let's think about blessing, the blessing of less. Bless. Less is not deprivation, it's intention, emotional clarity, and cognitive bandwidth. Remember the words of the song, make me a channel of your peace. Less ego, less reaction, less story, more calm, more blessing. Starting today, notice your empty boats. Release what isn't yours. Carry only what matters and quit the habits that steal your happiness. Then watch how less transforms not just what you do, but who you are. Here's a gentle challenge for the week ahead. Offer one small affirmation and watch for those affirmations when they appear. Let your space be filled by affirmations and let there be less to weigh you down. Breathe in blessing, breathe out clutter. Breathe in affirmation, breathe out despair. Here's an affirmation for you. I am enough as I am. And if anyone finds me too much, remember they can go find less. Sit in this spaciousness for a few moments and notice how less feels. Lighter, clearer, more free. Carry this intention of less into your day. And if this mattered to you today, you are not alone. I thank you for joining me on Human Being with Dr. Susan. I hope you'll follow me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or tune in next week and every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern on Sandcastle Radio, because we have more to do together with less. Until next time, remember that you are only human, but you can do much being human. human being. Thank you so much for joining me today, Human Being with Dr. Susan. It's been a real pleasure to sit with you. I'm wishing you a fantastic start to your new year.